starts now.
Thanks for sticking with us here at 7:30. A heads up tonight if you voted in North Carolina. While the 2024 election is seemingly over, there is a big fight going on in Raleigh that could result in your vote being thrown out. And it all surrounds one still undecided race for the North Carolina Supreme Court.
One race for the 2024 general election still remains undecided. It's in North Carolina. Republican candidate for the state Supreme Court, Judge Jefferson Griffin, is seeking to invalidate more than 60,000 ballots cast during the election. The North Carolina State Board of Elections is asking the same court to take up the dispute after Griffin's appeal was denied.
Yeah, it's a case getting national attention at times. After multiple recounts, Democratic incumbent Supreme Court Justice Allison Riggs leads Jefferson Griffin by 734 votes. On Friday, the state appeals court ruled 2-1 in favor of Griffin's challenge of those 60,000 votes. While he did not vote, it is a court Griffin sits on. If the ruling stands, the State Board of Elections could throw out the contested votes unless voters take action to prove their identity. Part of Griffin's argument for getting rid of the ballots is because he says some people voted with incomplete voter registration. Democrats argue Griffin is trying to change the rules after voters already made up their minds. But Griffin's colleagues sided with him. The ruling states those votes, as well as thousands of overseas and military voters, should be given 15 days to prove that they are eligible or have their ballots discarded. Now, if you take a look at the makeup of the court right now, there are 7 judges in all. You got 5 Republicans, 2 Democrats. So while a change may not impact the outcomes, Democrats say it could set a dangerous precedent on election stories. Laura Leslie has more.
Griffin challenged more than 60,000 votes from heavily Democratic counties, although some Republican voters were caught up in it too. He said most of them should not have been allowed to vote because their voter registration had missing or incomplete information in a state database. He also challenged the votes of thousands of military voters for not showing photo ID, even though under state law they were not required to show photo ID to vote overseas. 2 of Griffin's Republican colleagues on the Court of Appeals agreed that the votes must be verified or thrown out. They ruled that the 60,000 voters should be given 15 days to prove that they're eligible to vote or have their ballots discarded. Meredith College political scientist David McLennan says he's never seen a ruling like that.
This becomes a political issue for both sides. The Democrats are going to probably put a full court press on all 60+ thousand voters to try to get them to act. And the Republicans are probably going to just hope that the time runs out.
Allison Riggs has joined the Elections Board in his defense. She says she will appeal. We will be promptly appealing this deeply misinformed decision that threatens to disenfranchise more than 65,000 lawful voters and sets a dangerous precedent, allowing disappointed politicians to thwart the will of the people. Meanwhile, Republicans called it a victory for the rule of law. For months, Judge Griffin and the NCGOP have endured baseless attacks and incendiary rhetoric in this matter, said NCGOP spokesman Matt Mercer. Throughout this time, our position has been consistent. When the debate is about the merits, Judge Griffin will prevail in his election integrity concerns.
Laura Leslie reporting for us tonight. Now, today, the state Supreme Court temporarily blocked the appeals court decision to throw out those votes. We're going to keep you updated on this. This, of course, this close race, nothing new for the North Carolina State Supreme Court. Look at this here. Back in 2020, Republican Justice Paul Newby beat out Democrat Court Chief Judge Justice Sherry Beasley by just 401 votes. But after 2 rounds of recounts, she did concede the race. On our website, under this story, we're going to have a link to a list of the votes Griffin is contesting. It is from Justice Allison Riggs' campaign website, but there you can search your name, even your address, to find out if your ballot is one of those in question. You can look by just going to WBTV.com. All right, let's check.